So 2 years ago, I filmed this video for the first time where I ranked every single ink I owned, as well as a whole bunch of other art supplies I loved. And I thought it would be really interesting to revisit it 2 years later and see if my taste in anything had changed. I was going to add all my inks to the tier list, and then I realized that it was going to be a whole lot of inks. So I have not done that. Instead, what we're going to do is we are going to look at all of the inks that I still own that were in that original tier list and see what I still like and what I still use. We're also going to do all the other tier lists that appeared in that original video, including watercolor brands, pen companies, pen filling systems. I think that one will be really interesting. I feel like the first time I sat down to do this, I didn't know a whole lot about pen filling systems, and I know a whole lot more now, and so I'm interested to see if that's changed at all. So let's get into this. So to start with, we're going to start with pen companies because I think this is probably going to be the easiest. So we have all of our pen companies down here. I still do not know which pen company this is, which I think was the same issue I had 2 years ago when I did this the first time. The rest of them, though, I do now know. So Schaefer's like solidly B tier. I like old Schaefer. I like new Schaefer. Both I find are lovely. Are they my favorite pens? No, but I do like them. Pentel. Does Pentel make fountain pens? I think of them as like a gel pen company. We're going to go, but they're also not my favorite gel pens. You know, there. Is this fountain pens? Is this supposed to be fountain pens, or is this like sort of everything? Pen companies, including fountain pens. All right. Pilot. Is anyone surprised? I love my Pilot Vanishing Points. Faber-Castell. I love my Pitt pens. I love my pencil crayons. I want to love my gelatos. I go through phases of loving them, and I go through phases that they just aren't my favorite. Right now, we're like solidly in. I'm meh about them. I do really like them, but I just sometimes don't quite know what to do with them. Mont Blanc. I love old Mont Blanc. I haven't spent a whole lot of time with new Mont Blanc. So we're going to go A. I've just blanked on who this is. We're going to come back to you. Space Pen. I don't love it. It's not awful. It's just not something that I'd ever reach for, and I felt no need to buy one. Which is also how I feel about Muji pens. I love some of the other stuff from Muji, just not the pens. I really dislike Lamy pens because the grip doesn't work for my hand, which is the same way I feel about Twisby. Kaweco. We're going to go solidly in B. I really like the sport. I really like my Piston Sport, like the feel of it in my hand. I haven't inked it up yet. But I do think their student pen is incredibly expensive. Whose logo is an anchor? This is really going to annoy me. Parker, much like Schaefer, I really like old Parker. I haven't spent a whole lot of time with new Parker, other than the fact that I like their inks. Pelican. I like their student pens. I like their 200 series. I know very little about their more expensive pens. I think this is Wall. I have never willingly picked up a Wall. It's not a Wall, it's a Waterman. Either way, we're going to go C, because in both cases, I really like the vintage stuff and I really dislike the modern stuff. Esterbrook is solidly B. I like their stuff, but there can sometimes be issues with stuff. Rotering is going with Muji. It's fine. I've never felt the need to own it. Cross. I was actually surprised when I discovered that one of my favorite pens for a very long time had been a Cross. It's a brand that uses Cross as their manufacturer. And because of that, at least they're like ballpoints and stuff. Cross is going to go up in A because I have solidly used a Cross pen now for over a decade and utterly adore it, which is also where Zebra is going. I love the Zebra going S. I really like a lot of the Zebra products. The mild liners and the Sarasa vintage are utterly fantastic. Sakura. Let's go A. I really like the jelly rolls and the black erasers. Those have been my go-to for a while from them. And they make a really nice glue marker that's like a gel pen. So I guess it's a glue pen. But I haven't had one in a while. And then Uni. I like my Uni stuff. But Uni isn't what I reach for these days very often. If I need something waterproof, though, I will reach for a Uni gel pen. So let's do Uni there. And then we're going to leave the other two because I don't know what brand they are. And because of that, I'm not going to include them. It's really bugging me that I can't think of who the anchor is. I feel like I know it. For the life of me, though, I can't figure out what the P is. All right, let's do the next one. Fountain pen tier list. Oh, does this have names? No, it does not. All right. Process of elimination is probably how we're going to do this. I also might not get these all right. We're just going to go off of vibes, what I think they are. Really. Oh, these are all so tiny. I think that's a Tasha. Oh, I can change how this is. Do I want it as an alignment chart? No, I don't like that very much. Let's go back to this. All right, Twisby. Are we surprised? I think I want to say that's an Opus. It looks like an Opus. It looks like that's a Japanese piston. There's a Kaweco Sport. That's a Conklin Durograph. It's not my favorite model from Conklin, but I do like them. That's a Metropolitan. I see, if I was doing this like 3 months ago, it would have been higher. I don't like it at its current price. I think there are better starter pens at its current price. It is a nice pen, though. Pilot Parallel. Let's go A. I think you can do things with a parallel you can't do with other things. A Cockano. I'm a firm believer that a Cockano is S tier. That's a Visconti. Okay. They're really expensive. But I really love mine. Like, I really love mine. It goes pretty much everywhere with me. It's one of my most used pens. I think this is an acrylic Visconti. And then this is the Bronze Age or a different lava one. It's hard to tell. These pictures are really tiny. I'm gonna say the acrylic one is S tier. If you can find a pattern you like, and if you can find somebody to test the nib for you. I'm going to say Bronze Age is... I hate how it feels in my hand. There are so many. Is this another... Was this not a Coconut? No, that's a TWSBI student? How did I do this the first time? This is so hard. I just had the Coconut. Where's the Coconut? There's the Coconut. Ugh, this is so hard. I think this is a Montegrappa. I love them. They're so pretentious. They're so much fun. A Beneo. Honestly, you can't go wrong. Sparkly, personality, all sorts of fabulous. It's really hard to tell if this has a star on the top or not. I don't think it does, which has me thinking it's a Platinum 3776. Which I do think is one of the best pens on the market currently. And I will be taking no follow-up questions. Oh, what is that? I want to say it's a Pilot E95S. It's the Jinhao Shark. I know people love them. I sort of hate them. This is a Pelican M600 and something, I think. I think that was what the purple colorway was. That does not look to be amethyst. So we're going to stick that solidly in B. I like the M600s. I think if I was going to get a golden Pelican, that was where it would go. That being said, I don't know the ones in my future anytime soon. It's pretty. It's a ruche. Let's go B. Oh, this is a Pilot 847, I think. It looks like it's got a vacuum rod in it. Which, as much as I dislike cleaning vacs, if I was going to get one of the Pilots in that sort of genre, it would be something like that. That's a TWSBI. That is a Nebula from Monteverde. I have that pen. Oh, this is getting progressively harder. This is a Lamy 2000, solidly in B tier. I just haven't spent enough time with it to know if I love it or not, but I do know that I don't absolutely hate it, which is why it's not going lower. That's a Twist. I don't hate it as much as other TWSBIs. I think you're a TWSBI too. Oh, how did I do this the first time? Okay, this is, I want to say, allow me. This is their retractable. Again, I haven't spent a whole bunch of time with it, but I haven't liked it as much as a vanishing point, which does not seem to be on this thing. Okay, we're going to call this an E95S, in which case it's being added to A tier. I love the E95S. I don't own one yet, but they are truly spectacular. Part of my brain is saying this is a Platinum Century as well. I think it is. Those look identical to me. They're just different colors. Which sort of has me wondering if this is actually a Mont Blanc, but it's too late. This is a Pilot, a Rushi. I love the pen. It's too big for my hand. So it's going to go in B tier. That's a Safari. Oh, there's a vanishing point. I knew if I looked for long enough, I was going to find one. We might be reaching a point that I'm stumped with trying to identify these. I think this might be an Esterbrook, but it could also be a Le Bon. When was this created? It was last modified in 2019, which would be a bit early for new Esterbrook. So I think it's probably a Le Bon. Ugh. I think this is a Faber-Castell. Well, I am well and truly stumped. That's a Pelican. I don't know what number you are, so you're going to go and C. Anything else easily identifiable? I think this is a Parker just based on its clip. All right. Well, I did not do as well at that as I thought I was going to. I'm going to have to go back and see how well I did a couple years ago. I wonder if a couple years ago I just sorted them by like what colors I liked. But also, this was way harder than I thought. How many did I end up leaving? So I got 28 out of 50 sorted, leaving 22. That isn't a great ratio. That's just barely a pass. All right, inks. This one should be fun because this is actually all my inks. Oh, it's so tiny. All right. Jelly bean blue. All right. What we're going to do is if I finish the ink, we're just going to leave them at the bottom. And so I did finish that. Sell it on Cat. Do I still even have Sell it on Cat? I do. Let's see. Dusk and Bloom is still an A tier ink for me. Same with Plated Gold Tresses. Malibu Blush. I use it, but not very often. So plated gold trust is probably an S tier based on how often I use it. The Sherry Sonata. Sugar and Spite. Harlequin Dreams is definitely there. Diamine Earl Grey. I use it, but not as often as some things. I don't even know what you are. Cabernet on the Lake. I'm gonna be real honest, I don't know the last time I inked that up. I've used it in things, just not in pens. The Fluttering Heart, the same. It's too pale in pens. Pink Eraser. Still one of my favorite pinks. Crystal Blue Legacy. Almost never use it. Radiant Rose Wings. In my rotation fairly often. Knitted Nettle. I keep going back and forth about destashing this ink. I finished my sample of this and I didn't buy a new bottle of it. So we're going to put it at the bottom for now. Because as much as I love it, when it came time to buy a new bottle of it, I couldn't find it anywhere in stock. And I now have 3 other waterproof inks and I don't really feel the need to have 4 right now. So I just didn't replace it. Candy Marsala, I finished. Sort of feel like I need a row for things that I finished. Algonquin Maple. I love it. I've been using it sparingly because I'm almost out of it, but I did write an article for Goldspot probably about the same time that I did this tier list. No, a couple months after I did this tier list about red inks and my love of this specific red ink. I don't use it. Peter Moss is one of my favorite greens. Frontenac Blue. I am surprised how much I've used this ink. Almost never in a pen, but I've used a whole bunch of it. I don't actually know what you are. Let's grab a thing. You Blue Yosemite Falls. Again, I've used it, just not in pens. This has never been used in a pen, and I'm almost in my sample vial of it. And when it got discontinued, I didn't buy a bottle. The Riveting Pond. I will forever be sad that I didn't buy a second bottle of it because it is such a pretty color. Stroke of Midnight. For a while, Mom had this inked up all the time. We have like 2 extra bottles of it because she absolutely adores it. And she hasn't been inking it up lately. She's been in Yamabudo and things like that recently. So I'm interested to see if it comes back into her rotation. That's Blue Cotton Candy, Aurora Alice. I really like, I'm just not running double broads and stuff these days, and it needs something thick. Bluegrass is empty. Brilliant Beanstalk. Forever one of my favorite greens. Another Peter Moss, because I had a sample vial and then I had a bottle of it. Poison Envy. Love it. Just not in pens. The Writing Desk. I am almost done my bottle of this and I'm so sad. Storied Blue. Still one of my favorite colors. Tanzanite Sky is almost done. If not done. And there's another Storied Blue. Golden Gate Glow. Did I have this inked up this year? I think I did. I don't know that it made it into a video, but I think I had it inked up at some point. So solidly a C tier color. Pumpkin Patch. Again, not my favorite. Not the worst though. This is not my favorite yellow. Hardy Harvest, on the other hand, is a great orange that I adore. Wonderland in Coral. This is Dusk from Van Diemen's. I actually bought a bottle of it. My bottle, though, is a different color than this, which I don't love. Lights of Niagara. I have never inked up in a pen. Well, I have inked up in a pen, but I have yet to find a paper that it doesn't bleed. And that really bugs me. I finished this. Borealis. I've used it in a couple pens. The Starlit Sea is solidly a C tier color. Let's look at these that are down here. This, do I still have? I do still have. Scabiosa goes up there. So, I finished Andromeda. I finished this blue. Thought about getting a bottle of it, but it was too ballpoint blue. This grew mold. I finished. I do want a bottle of this. I just haven't been able to track one down. I finished. And then there's collection. Interestingly, only 2 colors are still in S tier. I do still really love Dusk and Bloom. It just sort of comes in and out of my rotation depending on my mood. And it's been out of my rotation for a couple weeks. I'm trying to lean into more springy, summery colors. So I'm interested to see if it comes back into my rotation again in a couple weeks once we head into mud season and all that stuff. And I feel like having some blue in my notebook, but for now it is out of my rotation. Let's go to the next one. Color brand. Oh, okay. Can I do this really quickly? I don't actually want to add in anything. So Daniel Smith. These are the worst titles I've ever given to one of these. We're going to put Daniel Smith solidly here because I have been betrayed by some Daniel Smith colors recently not performing super well. And I find that really annoying. Schmincke is getting a similar ranking. Super expensive, and I've had some colors recently not perform super well. I don't know what's going on. Holbein. They are incredibly expensive, and yet I adore them. M. Graham. We're going to go solidly like here. And I say that because they're not super expensive. They're not super inexpensive, but on like the scale of watercolors, they're not the most expensive. What I don't like about them though is they don't dry down in pans. And for me, that's a no-go because I like to be able to take my paints places with me. And I don't enjoy that. Sennelier. I have developed sort of a soft spot for Sennelier over the past couple of years. We're developing quite the cluster up here. Michael Harding. I feel like you're like solidly part of this cluster where you're expensive. There. Got a very good cluster going on right now. This is Rembrandt Student. They're very inexpensive. And they're like, whatever. Which is sort of the same way I feel about the colors from, oh, what are they called? Mission Gold. I've had some I've really liked. I've had some that have been really hit and miss. But on the expensive side versus the inexpensive side, they tend to be pretty middle of the road. They just both are not my favorite. A Gallo. They're really expensive. Actually, they should be more like up here. They're really expensive and they're really not my favorite. I think their binder is too hard for the paints, making them really hard to reactivate. And well, I haven't had mold issues with mine. I do know friends that have had mold issues, which just has me a little bit suspicious about the binder. White Knights. Rightfully hard to get these days because they're made in Russia. But if you can get them from somebody who's destashing from their palette, they are really nice paints. And they play really nicely with a whole bunch of other brands. And they are relatively inexpensive. So I would say if you can get them secondhand, I would snag them. I have a whole bunch of them in my palette from the very early days of building my watercolor palette. And they're some of my favorite paints because they just mix really nicely with pretty much everything. Their binder is incredibly smooth, and I find that it just plays really nicely. Roman Small have gotten a lot more expensive over the past couple of years, but I do love their formulation. They play really nicely with everything, and they're sort of one of my go-to paints for tracking down single pigment colors. They tend to have a pretty good selection. Winsor and Newton. Oh, I love them. I would actually say Winsor and Newton is probably my favorite brand these days of like the big 6 in this cluster. We're about to add core, so the big 7 in this cluster. I think core is actually the most expensive, probably. I love Winsor Newton. I like core, but you know, everyone has their own thing. These are the Shinhan paints. They're relatively inexpensive. I'm gonna stick it solidly in the middle. They're relatively inexpensive. Their binder is fine. They mix okay with other stuff. They're just not my favorite. These are the White Knight student grade paints. They're very inexpensive. I don't like their binder. What's this? I don't actually know what brand that is. Interesting. So we're just going to, oh, I guess it has to be placed somewhere. Based on, is there any branding on that tube? Apparently, it's another White Knights student grade line, but it looks to be specifically single pigment colors. In which case, we're gonna stick you over here, assuming that it uses the same formula as the White Knights paints. Rembrandt, they're relatively inexpensive. I really dislike their binder. Van Gogh, same deal, relatively inexpensive. I really dislike their binder. I might have these switched. I can't remember which one's cheaper. And then My Mary Blue. I have only tried a dot card of these, so it's sort of hard to judge, but whenever I see them, they're really expensive. And I don't know if I put them there. I think it's hard to justify their cost when things like Roman Smalls exist. And when they have such a good binder that plays so nicely with pretty much all of these brands. It's hard to justify spending that much on these single pigment colors when these exist. All right. Art supply tier list. Watercolors, still A tier. Mechanical pencil, still A tier. Charcoal, D tier. Same with oil pastels and chalk pastel. Pencil crayons, let's put you in A. Ballpoint pen, alcohol marker, Posca, ink. Well, fountain pen ink, not that sort of ink. Clay, I don't use. Rocks, I don't use. Markers, solidly an S. Clay, a giant thing of paint. I don't use. Oil paints, yeah, no. Gouache, I have some. It's not my favorite. Crayons, I only use white ones as wax resist. So let's go see. Normal pencils, let's go see, because I will use them. I don't love them. Pens, this is a ballpoint. We're going to call it a fountain pen and put it in S tier. Dip pens, glitter. This is just a container of glitter. I'm going to say that it's actually, glitter paint, in which case it's solidly A tier. Finally, filling systems. I guess we need to title this. I think I spelled it absolutely wrong. All right. Ha! Cartridge converter. 100%, absolutely. Specifically, like, non-proprietary. Give me standard international all day, every day. Same with piston. Japanese eyedropper. Solidly, like, up in this quadrant. Snorkel. I have two. I really struggle with them. They're the finickiest pens I have. Vacuum Modern. I have some, but I dislike cleaning them. Vacuum Vintage. Yeah, no way. I barely like the modern ones. Vacuum Ugh. Touchdown. I feel like I haven't spent enough time with one. Crescent. Solidly, like, why, but also I sort of love you. A lever, again. I hate them. I hate cleaning them, but I do sort of love them. They're sort of one of my favorite things. Eyedropper. If you'd asked me this like a year ago, I would say that I hated eyedroppers. I now have too many pens eyedropper to have that opinion, and so eyedropper's gonna go there. I don't like safeties. Bulk filler's gonna go there. And pneumatic is gonna go there. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed this little dive into my opinions on stuff. I will leave the video from 2 years ago linked up above and down below, and let me know how you would rank some of these things. I will also leave the links to these tier lists in the description. It was fun to revisit something 2 years later. I'm gonna have to go back after I've finished editing this and see how my opinions have changed over the past 2 years, because I think they have changed on a lot of these, and I'm really interested to see how they've changed on pen filling systems, because I have a feeling that's where my opinions have changed the most, because I now feel like I know a lot more about what I like when it comes to pen filling systems, whereas 2 years ago, I was a little less familiar with some of the uncommon stuff. It's also interesting to see now, like, how many pen filling systems I realize are missing from the pen filling system thing because of 20 questions. So, I hope you enjoyed watching, and I will see you in the next video. Have a great day. Bye.